Hello, boys and girls. Welcome back. We just took an assessment over combining like terms and simplifying expressions, and now we're going to be talking about adding and subtracting one-step equations. All right, so our objective for today will be able to solve one-step equations by adding and subtracting. All right, so just a thing to remember, we talked about expressions before, and an expression is something that does not have an equal sign. But an equation, it says that two things are equal, equation, and because it's equal, it has an equal sign. When we solve these equations, we want to isolate our variable. That's the goal, and I think you've heard me say that a lot when we've been talking about other things in this class. But that means that we want to get that variable on one side of the equation and all by itself. All right, to keep an equation balanced, whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other. Think of a scale. Okay, we want to think of that equation like a scale. We want to keep it balanced. All right, so solving an equation. So here are the three steps that I like to use. Step 1, draw a line through the equal sign. Step 2, use the inverse operation to isolate the variable. And step 3, check your work. I included these little things down here just to remind us what the inverse operation is. So if we are adding or have a positive, we are going to subtract or do the negative. If we have a negative or a subtraction, we're going to do the opposite, which is adding. Right? Easy as that. Let's take a look at some examples. That's the best way that we can do this. All right, so step 1, draw that line through the equal sign. This is just to kind of help us keep ourselves organized and to keep everything set in stone. Step 2, isolate the variable by adding or subtracting the inverse. All right, so right now we have a positive 9, and we want to get this variable all by itself. So because we have a positive 9, we want to do the opposite, so we want to subtract 9 from both sides. So that gives us x is equal to 10 minus 9, which is 1. All right, and then step 3 is to check our work. So now let's plug it in. 9 plus 1 is equal to 10. 9 plus 1 is 10. And 10 equals 10, so we know that we did it right. All right, let's take a look at the next one. All right, same type of thing, a little tiny bit different, but let's take a look. We have x plus 4 is equal to 14. So first, draw the line. Okay, plus, the opposite of plus to isolate the variable would be minus, so we're going to subtract 4 from both sides because we want to get the x all by itself. When we subtract 4 from this side, it cancels out, so it just leaves us with the x. Right? 14 minus 4 is equal to 10. Let's check our work, so we're plugging in x equals 10 to the original equation. So we have 10 plus 14 is equal to 14. When you add 10 plus 4, you get 14. And yes, that equals to 14. So we know that x is equal to 10. All right, so this so far should be a review from last year. All right, but what we're going to really focus on is those rational numbers. So those positives and negatives, fractions and decimals. So let's take a look at this example. All right, so this is the same type of thing. We're going to draw that line down the middle of the equal sign to keep ourselves organized. We have 1/4 plus y is equal to 3/4. All right, so since it's a positive 1/4, we want to subtract or do the opposite, subtract 1/4 from each side. 1/4 minus 1/4 cancels out to get 0. So we have y is equal to, and now we have 3/4 minus 1/4. This is a nice and easy one. Our denominators are already common. So we just subtract the numerators. 3 minus 1 is 2 over 4. All right, and then we want to simplify that to 1/2. Let's check our work. 1/4 plus 2/4, oops, not thirds, fourths is equal to 3/4. And that we know is true. So check, we are good. So y is equal to 1/2. All right, so now let's take a look. One with a decimal. All right, so now we'll draw a line down the middle. We have x plus 5.3 equals 9.4. So because it's a plus, we have to do the opposite, which is subtract. So subtract 5.3 both sides to isolate the variable. The 5.3 minus 5.3, they cancel out, so that just leaves us with x on this side. But whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other. So 9.4 minus 5.3. 4 minus 3 is 1. Bring down that, decimal point. And we have 9 minus 5 is 4. Alright, so we check our work. 4.1 plus 5.3 is equal to 9.4. And we can see that yes, that is true, that our answer is indeed x is equal to 4.1. Alright, so now let's look at some subtraction problems. So it's the same steps, but this time the opposite of subtraction is addition. So x minus 8 is equal to 2. So if it's a minus 8, we have to add 8 on both sides to cancel it out, to isolate the variable. So negative 8 plus 8, cancel it out, you just get x. 2 plus 8 is 10. Let's check our work. 10 minus 8 is equal to 2, and yes, that is true. We're good to go. X is equal to 10. Alright, let's take a look at this one. This one's a little tad bit different, alright, but we probably have seen these examples last year. Alright, so since this is a positive 5, we are going to subtract from both sides. 5 minus 5 is 0, so that leaves us with negative x is equal to positive 15. Alright, but we don't want this x to be negative. We want it to be positive. So what we need to do is multiply both sides by negative 1. Alright, so negative 1 times 1, or negative 1 times negative x is a positive x, and negative 1 times 15 is negative 15. Alright, so let's check our work. We have 5 minus negative 15 is equal to 20. We want to do keep, change, opposite. So 5 plus 15 is indeed 20, so we are good to go. X is equal to negative 15. Alright, so just a thing to remember here, make sure that our x's are positive at the end. Let's take a look at another one. We have negative 4 minus x is equal to negative 2. Let's draw our line. Step 1. We have a negative 4. We want to isolate this variable, so negative 4 opposite of negative 4 is positive 4, so we are going to add 4 from both sides. That leaves us with negative x, because these cancel out. Now we have negative 2 plus 4. Alright, so remember, when we have a negative plus a positive, we subtract and take the sign of the bigger number. So 4 minus 2 is 2, and the bigger number is positive, so it's a positive 2. Right, but we want this x to be positive, so we want to multiply both sides by negative 1. Right, negative 1 times x is positive x. Negative 1 times 2 is negative 2. Let's check our work. We have negative 4 minus negative 2 is equal to negative 2. Right, we want to keep, change, and opposite. And indeed, negative 4 plus 2 is negative 2. So we know that the answer is x is equal to negative 2. Alright, we can do the same thing with our decimals and fractions like we did before. So we have draw our line, step 1. Add 1.5 to both sides. X is equal to, so we have these cancel out. 0 plus 1.5 is indeed 1.5. Let's try it. 1.5 minus 1.5 is equal to 0. And we know that that is true. That is 0 equals 0. Alright, so x is equal to 1.5. Alright, so now take a second. I want you to try these 3 problems. I have you do 3 because they're quick and easy, and I'm thinking this should be a big review from last year. Please take your time and try your best on these. Okay, so pause the video and solve. And if you have any questions, please write them down so I can answer them, and we can clarify anything, any confusion that you might have, or maybe I wouldn't do fast in the video. Alright, so write down any questions, but remember, you don't have to anymore. I am more interested in the U-Try problems. So thank you so much for actively listening and taking good notes, and I will see you in class.